Today I'm going to be making some Escovitch sauce. Escovitch sauce can be used to dress fish as well as other meats. I'm going to be using celery, bell pepper or sweet pepper. I'm also going to cut up some peppers. I'm going to use onion. I'm also going to use some carrot and a little bit of scallion and also some pimento or pimento berries, or as some persons might like to call them, reggae balls. First, we're going to prepare these ingredients before we add them to the mixture for the sauce. So you're going to wash your vegetables and your seasonings, right, and allow them to dry first before we proceed to the next step. Okay, so now we're here with the carrot. They have been washed and I pre-cut them. So what I'm going to do now is to dice them up in some smaller strips that I want exactly for the sauce. Okay, now I'm going to do my celery, so I'm going to cut that up as well. And you can be creative with how you cut this, because it's not only going to be serving the purpose of adding flavor, it will also be a garnish, on the food, so it can be used to, help the food presentation look better. So for persons who would like to ask the question, like how much onion versus how much carrots, it's just a matter of personal taste and your own experimentation, and you do what suits you best. Okay, now for peppers, don't be afraid to cut across the grain. I'm going to show what we call the grain or the vein. Alright, so this is a cross section versus if you're cutting the pepper like this, it would be like a transverse section. The cross section, you can see the veins in the pepper. And a little secret here for persons who are afraid of pepper. So if you're cutting your pepper and you avoid cutting the veins, then you are getting the flavored part of the pulp and you're not getting so much heat. And it's the same for any kind of pepper, whether it's cayenne pepper, scotch bonnet, whatever. As long as you don't cut the vein, you will be good. So remember, the veins are these connections right here. 1, 2, 3. Usually peppers have 3. Sometimes it can be 2 or 4 depending on the mutation of the type of pepper that you have. Alright, so I'm gonna do some healthy cuts in my pepper though. Right, so I cut across the grain. And all of this goes into the mixture for the sauce. Now it is time to cut up the scallion. This is a scallion, that's an onion right there. And I did not use a lot of scallion because onion and scallion, they have similar flavors. The part of the scallion I'm going to use, you notice that I don't have the dark green leaves on it. What I want is the thicker part of the stalk, the lower half of the scallion. So I'm just going to dice the scallion up and I'm going to use it with the onion as well. As for pimento, I'm going to crush a few of these berries, and there are also some that I'll just put in the rest of the ingredients right here as whole as they are without breaking them up, and the rest of these, as said before, I'll crush and then add that to the mixture. So I'm just going to be using my knife to crush them, but you could use a garlic crusher or anything that is hard on a flat surface and get them crushed. To make it even more refined, I'll also use my knife just to cut them up just a bit. And we should be good right here. Okay, so the last ingredient that I have here is bell pepper, sweet pepper, we call it here in Jamaica. And you don't have to do them in any specific order. It's just the order that, you know, I took them up. Alright, so as again, you want to have some creative cuts. I prefer just long, thin strips of sweet pepper. I think that works well. See? Now that I've had all my seasonings chopped up, it's now time to take it to the stove to do the second part of the preparation. First, you're going to heat your oil. This oil that I'm using is some oil that was used to fry fish. It was seasoned. You can use fresh oil if you want, but I like the flavor from oil that was used to fried fish. Right, so I want that now as somewhat of a secret ingredient for my Escovitch sauce as well. Okay, so I'm going to now add the ingredients to the pot, and I'm going to stir fry that for around 2 minutes. Okay, well, how much oil to use? Well, just enough so that you cover the bottom of the pot and the ingredients don't burn. Now remember, I was saying earlier that you want to have your ingredients dried before you proceed to this step, because you don't want to have pops of oil all over the place, you know, oil flashing out all over the place. You know how oil gets excited when it's heated and you add water to it, or how water gets excited when you add it to hot oil. Yes, so just want to stir fry this a bit. Look at that, looking lovely. Wow, all those lovely ingredients. If you want to have more oranges in it, obviously you could use more carrots, etc. If you want more greens, then you could use less carrots and use more green stuff, for example. So after stir frying for 2 minutes, add vinegar to your pot, cover it down, and we're now going to cook that for 2 minutes. This also helps the seasoning to release their flavors. Okay, now let's come with the vinegar. And yes, this is a small amount of vinegar. I should have a lot more. Somebody forgot to buy some. But this will do for the purpose of this demonstration. If you're doing your recipe like this and you are short on vinegar, once you finish preparing this, you can always add vinegar after the fact. It won't spoil the taste. An additional optional seasoning you could use with this, or something you could use to season the Escovitch sauce, you could also use a little bit of sugar if you want. I think I'm going to not use that option, so I'm not going to be using any sugar in this. So what I'm going to do now is just going to allow this to boil for 2 minutes.
A few minutes later.
Turn it off. I'm going to take the cover off, so I start to allow the mixture to lose some heat, because it's heat that cooks, is not so much a flame. So even though the flame is off, because the mixture is hot, it will still continue to cook. You're going to want a glass bottle for this mixture. It works well. You can use plastic, but I'll be using glass for this. So I'm going to now transfer the contents of the pot to the glass, and then you can store it for as long as. Okay, so I'm going to call on the help of something that will make it easier to convert from the pot to the jar. That's the liquid portion of it. At this point, I can just use a fork and get the contents into the jar. And here we are. This sauce is ready to be served on your meats.